Hey everybody, time for another Game Theory video. Remember, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel if you can. I appreciate it. Thanks, Super Chat, PayPal, Patreon. Super hype the video. If you support the channel, obviously it supports the channel. Thank you. We're going to be talking about this move right here, the Tiger Knee, or the Soul Strike. I call it Tiger Knee because it looks like he's doing a Tiger Knee. The Tiger Knee link. And I was thinking about this recently again because of the recent Dragon Ball FighterZ Rainbow Edition patch, whatever it's called. And I was thinking that once again, I'm surprised that they have not made the Tiger Knee link easier. Because if you think about the history of the game, right, most of the foundational stuff, all the way to combo video stuff, the ideas of what every character could do is pretty much from me, right? But the one combo they never made easier, even though patch after patch, generally speaking, everything I show gets made easier the next patch. The one gimmick, if you will, the one character trait that they did not make easier is the Tiger Knee link with Gogeta, which I always find pretty strange because it's actually pretty easy to fix if you wanted to make it a little bit easier. And I'll say this once again, right? So this is how, if I was making the game, if I wanted to make it a little bit easier, right? So the Gogeta, the Tiger Knee thing, what he does, right? The Soul Strike, right? He goes up, right, when he does this, right? I don't know what the hitbox is on the move in the first place, but let's assume it's something like that, right? Now, what I would do is after he starts to rise in the air with this, right, you would give it an extra frame where you see that little trickle of the blue fire, give that a little bit of a hitbox, right? And then it can go back to normal, right? So again, he starts to rise with the move, has the regular hitbox. Then for a single frame, at some point when he's rising, it gets bigger, and then it goes back. Why? Why would you do this? Because if you don't know how the Tiger Knee link works, which I know it blows people's brains, I know throughout the years more and more people have showed that they can sort of do it a little bit, right? But basically, right, so we see the guy, when you hit a guy, right, they start to, woo, they spin around. Imagine the blue is their hurt box, right? Now this is why this works, right? So we hit the guy with the Soul Strike, Tiger Knee. Their body starts to flip around as you go up. But what we want to do is, so if you see when the Tiger Knee part of the Soul Strike starts to come up, right? Imagine the red is the hitbox of the move and the blue is the hurt box, right? So the reason that it can miss is because you are going up and the opponent is going down. Sometimes when the guy flips, right, you can, well, miss them because the hurt box is not big enough, right? And that's kind of the gimmick of the combo, right? Because you want to time it. So right when he starts to do the knee, right, the guy is just starting to flip, right? So the first hit of the move, right, misses, right? Then, since their blue box is going to be higher, right, as you can see their body right there, then you'll end up hitting their feet. But as you can see in this image, if you use your imagination, sometimes, or a lot of the time, because it is a pretty tight and specific combo, because you're rising and they're falling, you'll miss. So what I would do is just add a single frame more where, guess what? It just has a bit of a bigger hitbox. So that way, when the guy is flipping and you want to hit their feet, there's that extra frame where you still need this, you still need the hurt box like this so it can miss, so you can hit the attack meaty, right? But then when he starts to raise, you get that one extra frame where it has a bit bigger of a hitbox, and then it can hit their tootsies, right? That's the whole gimmick of the Tiger Knee link, which, if you recall, I even was posting about that kind of stuff before I even played him, and people were like, no, this will never work. Clayton thinks he can look at a game and tell what's going to work. Can you believe it? Yeah, that did not age well, did it? But anyway, I just think that because, again, you think about how all these patches are just, you know, basically every gimmick that I show, easier, right? But the Tiger Knee link, right, has somehow still been this combo special thing that, you know, many people, other combo video guys now try to do themselves, right, to show that they can do it, right? You know, it's just been this staple of pretty much, I guess, the hardest gimmick of a combo in the game, you would say, right? And I've even said before, when I think about my history in fighting games, all that kind of stuff, the Tiger Knee link, you know, especially when I first found it, because you got to remember, there's a big difference between copying somebody when you know what you're trying to say. Imagine someone gave you a picture and you colored over it, right? You just got to color in the lines. You didn't have to do the foundation, right? But again, I think about through 25 years plus of doing things in fighting games that no one else has ever done, year after year, game after game. Those original Tiger Knee loops and the water slide Tiger Knee, in 25 years of doing combos for games, that's some of the hardest stuff I've ever had to come up with and route, if you will, from beginning to end, and then get to work, right? Definitely, again, that's up there. One of the hardest things in 25 years. And really, you could make it a little bit easier, right? You know, I'm not saying make it a Mugen combo, like how they've made so many things that much easier, but even making it just one frame extra would make it so much easier. And I'm surprised that they've never actually just put it in the game to do that, right? But yeah, I was thinking, is there any other thing in the game that they did not make easier? You know, I guess you could think of some of the original laser beam skips from the downwards Kamehameha, if you remember when I showed that with Goku, but they just straight took that out of the game. But those were pretty difficult and pretty cool though, right? But something you could do. If I was playing the game or in a real match, those are things that I would go for if I were to play the game. So hard, but they just took that out of the game, which is depressing. But you know, besides that too, when you think about how Mugenfied the patches, and I look at all the characters, and again, I don't hate every change that they've made. Some of the changes are pretty cool, like the Ultra Instinct Goku stuff. That's pretty cool, I would say, right? You know, I don't hate every change, but it's just that they went overboard with stuff. Just like the last patch, you guys are already going overboard, or every patch seemingly they get a little bit more ridiculous. You know, I've said before, I do think a lot of the stuff I was doing originally when the game came out, you know, was probably a little bit too hard for what it was. Although optimal is optimal, just because something is hard doesn't mean it's not optimal. But I do think a lot of the stuff I was doing at the time was harder than it needed to be. But, you know, these patches, they've made it too easy. You know, it's overblown, you know, oversimplified, right? And even stuff like, I think about, it's pretty strange when you think about it that they have not actually put back in those Vegito block strings that bug out the game. When you think about how crazy the game is, how quotation marks, let's say, degenerate the game is, it's pretty interesting when you think that they did not put back in the Vegito stuff, right? I mean, would that really break the game? I don't know. When you look at how the game is now, I don't know if it would really break the game. But anyway, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly comment, share, support the channel if you can. Appreciate it. Thanks. I know some people want me to do combos for the game again. Don't get your hopes up. The Vegito stuff that I did last patch still looks like it's the optimal stuff, actually, looking at it again, but he didn't really get many changes. And as usual, I've said this before, I think people, or I would assume a lot of people that watch my channel, they're watching me because they want to see, I'm assuming, but I assume they watch my channel because they want to see stuff that no one else in the world is doing, right? And I've always said this before, but I don't feel motivated just to show that I can do something too, right? If everyone can do something, it doesn't feel as rewarding for me. So it's kind of hard to motivate myself to do it. Does that make sense? But anyway, yeah, remember if you like the videos, like, subscribe, comment, share, support the channel. If you can, I appreciate it. Thanks. Super chat, PayPal, Patreon. If you want to buy me a tiramisu in Japan, I appreciate it.